What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the 4th&Long podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Thrash. Joined with me is my good friend, Jace Long. Jace, what's going on, brother?
What's up, man?
We are about to talk about so many games that happened this weekend, so many good ones, and so many narrative-changing ball games. So, to start off, actually, I got to give you flowers, Jace. You were right about a multitude of games this weekend.
Yeah, I usually am pretty correct about most things in life. Just add to it.
Okay. So you were right about the Arkansas game. I was dead wrong, even as an Arkansas fan. You were right about what other game were you right about? You were right about the Kansas-Iowa State game. I thought Iowa State would get it done in Iowa. I was right about the Oklahoma State game, and I was really excited about that. We'll talk about that later. What was your lock of the week?
Washington -4.
Got it. I missed my lock of the week. I had A&M, Ole Miss winning by 4. They won by 3.
You sure I don't need to be the host of this podcast?
Shit. You are setting up your studio though, man. Instead of a ladder, you're on a chair tonight.
Yeah, I am. In my storage room shooting this.
All right. I got 3 takeaways from week 10. Number 1, we watched the best 3 quarterbacks in the country on Saturday night.
Talking about Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., Caleb Williams. I'm assuming.
Nussmeier, Jalen Milroe. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, my God.
But no, definitely those 3. Jaden Daniels' stat line, I'll read it to you. 219 yards passing, 163 rushing, and 3 total touchdowns in 3.5 quarters of ball. Penix Jr., 22 out of 30, 256 yards, 3 total touchdowns. Finally, Caleb Williams, 27 out of 35, 312 yards, and 4 total touchdowns.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels wins, though, because he has the one concussion, too.
Yeah, the stat line is better.
Yeah.
Second takeaway, Oklahoma State may have had the biggest rivalry win ever.
I don't know about that. I don't know about ever. Ever?
Name another one. I got one other one in my head that you could probably take over it. It's Auburn, Alabama 2013 when Auburn, the kick 6, they went to the SEC championship and then led to the college football national championship. But I can't think of another one.
2011 LSU Bama. Winner goes to the national championship, basically.
Y'all both went.
That is true. Shouldn't have been Oklahoma State.
It should have been. Mike Gundy's still pissed off about that. Oklahoma State, in this scenario, I don't think there's another scenario like it. They might not. We don't know when the next rivalry game will be between these two, and they knocked them out of Big 12 contention for the most part and 100% out of the college football playoff contention.
Yeah, I don't think they had much shot in the playoffs anyways.
After that Kansas loss?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. My third takeaway, Jace, this was the best pound-for-pound Saturday of the entire season.
Yeah, it's one of the best that I can remember in a long time.
It was insane. So many close games and so many high-ranked matchups that came down to the wire.
Texas A&M and Florida were both trying game-winning field goals at the same time.
And then Kansas State just missed one and were tying it up themselves, all in that little 5 minutes. Me and my grandpa were on the couch watching all this stuff, and we were going crazy.
Yeah, dude, my phone's on 20%. Hopefully make it to this podcast.
Oh, my God. You don't got a charger anywhere?
Yeah, it's fine. We started on like 23. It's only went down to 3 since we've been here.
We're on 6 minutes, 15 seconds. Jace, what was your favorite moment of the day? I got a lot of questions for you tonight.
Man, my day was pretty skewed by the horrible LSU game.
Oh, no, it wasn't horrible.
My favorite moment of the day might have been Caleb Williams crying to his mom.
Did you see Max Duggan say LOL on it?
Yeah. The same guy who is always talking crap to people has F Utah on his fingernails is crying.
Yep, got the fingernail polish, yep.
God.
Rough look for Caleb Williams, rough look. RG3 talked about how much of a hero he was and how he looked and stuff. At least he cared. Emmanuel Acho said that he was ready for the NFL 2 weeks ago.
Does this look better? The other spot.
Nah, you look too close to it. I don't like that.
You don't like that?
It might scare the audience. My favorite moment of the day. We'll just go ahead and get this game out of the way. Arkansas goes into Gainesville and wins for the first time ever. Sam Pittman keeps his job. The offensive coordinator, Kenny Guyton, looks fantastic, even though the plays weren't so different. I think it was energy for the most part. I think that's all it was. We scored 2 offensive touchdowns, or 3 counting overtime. And but it was huge. It was a huge difference in what we've been playing the last 8 games. And we're 3-6 now after that. Bowl season, here we come. Liberty Bowl, here we come. 2 years in a row. What was your thoughts on this ball game?
What do we have to do to get Cam Little a Heisman ballot?
Well, he needs it. He's the best thing to come through Arkansas since
Ryan Mallett, probably.
Ryan Mallett, yeah. Rest in peace, Ryan Mallett.
Darren McFadden, probably.
Casey Dick.
Yeah.
Bobby Petrino. So, yeah, this game was just monumental for me, man. I didn't know if we were going to win another game the rest of the season. Definitely didn't know if we were going to win the SEC game. And to go into Florida, when I picked us to lose by 11 or 12 and we do this, the crazy part about it, we jumped in that 14-0 lead in 3 minutes. It was insane. We had an amazing drive to start it off, 7-0, backfield pass. Then we first play of the game for Florida on offense. Ricky Pearsall just gets it stripped. And we run it all the way back to the house. We're up 14-0, feeling good. And Florida ties it up in the first quarter.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember texting you asking what happened because I watched another game for half a second and Arkansas was up 14-0.
It was a crazy turn of events. I was on my way home from Kelsey's house and watching it on my phone. And it was insane. But Florida went up 23-20. And when it got to that point, Ricky Pearsall caught a touchdown. He made up for that fumble, that's for sure. He had 2 big punt returns. He had a touchdown catch. And I thought the way our secondary was playing against Trey Wilson and Hudson Clark not being able to guard a soul, he had a really bad day. Hudson Clark was the 7th-year senior. I've been seeing him since 2016, it feels like. He had a really bad day, and they were just targeting him. Every possession, they would at least once motion Trey Wilson or Ricky Pearsall to the opposite side where they could get a one-on-one with him, and they would just go at him. They caught 2 touchdown passes on him. So whenever it got to 23-20, I was like, all right, we're going to choke this again. We're going to have another loss with a single possession. But we didn't. We didn't do it, and that's a heck of a win for KJ, heck of a win for Sam Pittman. So it just a complete turnaround for Arkansas, and I think that's a little early. I think that's a little premature. Florida's not great, but for us to win that game, it said a lot about us.
Yeah, I got the same vibe late in the game. I was like, it just feels like another Sam Pittman one-score game that he's going to lose. But what I like the most about it is KJ looked like he wanted to play. He was running dudes over.
Yes.
When he ran over that Florida defender for the first down, I got excited. I don't give a crap about Arkansas. Rocket looked good.
Rocket did look good.
They had almost 200 rushing yards combined, KJ and Rocket.
Yep. Man,
that's how Arkansas wants to play, is just like that.
I've rewatched the highlights of this game twice already since Saturday. It's my first win in almost 2 months. Let's talk about your game. The game of the day for most people, the game of the day for myself. Those first 3 quarters were glorious. LSU went down to Tuscaloosa, ended up losing by 14. And we were robbed of probably the game of the year. It was shaping up to be the game of the year. The first half was insane. And remember, Jace, we were supposed to be at this ball game. So that puts a bitter taste in my mouth, even though it didn't come down to the wire, but heck of a game.
Man, before we get started on this game, Jalen Murrow did not turn a page. He just played LSU defense. He is not a top 5 quarterback. Like every quarterback gets posted after they beat LSU. He just played LSU. That's it.
I wouldn't say that's it now. I wouldn't say that's it.
That's it.
The way he's turned a page since the Ole Miss game, since the Texas game, if there was a self-improved award for the SEC, he should get it. Even in the country, he should get it.
Yeah, but that I don't think that even applies to this game because he's maturing more as a passer. The deep ball was not there for Alabama last night
It
at all.
wasn't. Nope.
His legs is the only thing that could help Alabama move the ball, which they
And
did effortlessly.
155 yards on the ground for him, 4 touchdowns rushing.
He had 5 on the season, had 4 last night.
Had 4 last night.
But yeah, I don't see how Matt House even got a ride back on the bus.
I don't either. There was no adjustments. Harold Perkins was a spy on him for the first possession of the game, it felt like, and that was it. And the first possession of the game, they didn't score. That was one of the only possessions they had that they didn't score. They had to punt, and that never happened again. Harold Perkins was never on Jalen Milroe again. There was never any adjustments, and it was crazy watching it.
Yeah, I mean, Perkins starts off that first possession with a big sack. And it seems like after that, he never rushed the passer again the rest of the game.
Me and my grandpa were having a film study on him. Every time Alabama had the ball, we're like, all right, watch number 4, watch number 4. And the first possession, he had a sack. And I was like, see, that's why we watch him. That's why we watch him. And he didn't do a thing the rest of the night, it felt like, because he couldn't. They didn't have him in the right places. He had the horse collar, which I hate the horse collar penalty. But he had that, and he just had an off night because of Matt House's scheme.
Yeah, I feel like you have to intentionally be trying to mess up a player like Harold Perkins. Like, just let him play see ball, get ball. It's that easy.
That is. Remember that Florida State game? He was in coverage.
Golly.
He was in coverage the whole night.
This game was very similar to the Florida State game.
It was a lot of scenarios, but Milroe just ran all of that. Was Jaden Daniels had a great game passing as well. Milroe had a good game passing, not great, especially because the deep ball wasn't there. But the quarterback run for both teams was the best play they could do.
Dude, every time these guys got an open field, you just saw bodies flying everywhere. It was crazy. Yep. Dude, Jaden took the cornerback's ankles. That was nasty.
Yes, it was. These two quarterbacks combined for almost 300 yards of rushing and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, there were some big plays when, especially Malik Neighbors' reception down the sideline. When he moved his foot.
I was going to bring that up. That was ridiculous. Ridiculous. When we were watching the replay, I was like, there's no way his foot came back in bounds. But he curved his foot. I don't know how he did it.
Dude, after that play, you were just like, buckle up. This is about to happen. And then it just fell off.
LSU comes out the half. It's 21-21 at the half after an awesome drive for LSU to tie it up with just like a 60-second drive, it felt like. And then y'all come out and scores 28-21. And that was the first moment where I was like, okay, LSU really has a shot to do this thing. Because the defense wasn't there for any team until Jaden got hurt. So I was like, whoever scores really the last with the ball, whatever you want to call it, that was who's going to win the game. And that's when I really felt like LSU had a chance. And then it all went downhill from there.
Yeah, just one positive take from it is LSU's offense is legit. That's a good Bama defense, and they were doing whatever they wanted to against them.
What is your hot take about Malik Neighbors?
Okay, so very controversial. Malik Neighbors is the best wide receiver to ever come through LSU.
Really?
Is that going to be a TikTok clip? If so, I want to re-say it because I've kind of fucked it up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it. Go ahead. Sorry to all the listeners. Go ahead.
All 2 of us that are live watching. Malik Neighbors is the... Hold on, fuck. All right. Go ahead.
Jace, what is your hot take about Malik Neighbors?
Very controversial, but Malik Neighbors is the best receiver to ever come through LSU.
Whoa.
Some big names, too. Chase, Jefferson, Odell, Landry.
Yep.
Chart.
Oh, Chart.
He rep number 7. You can't talk bad about Chart.
That's true. Okay, I can't disagree with you yet. I'd have to look at some numbers and stuff, but I just know that core with those guys, obviously the 2019 team was one of the best teams ever to do it. But sticking to this game, Malik Neighbors is the only wide receiver that came out to play for y'all.
No,
Brian Thomas
he,
didn't do a thing or didn't
he
do what
was
I
the
wanted
only.
to do.
I thought he was the only receiver running routes for majority of the game.
It seemed like it. It seemed like, and same thing for Alabama. Jermaine Burton was shut down too. 3 receptions, 29 yards, and you don't ever hear receivers for the opposite team of LSU getting shut down. But he didn't do anything. He really didn't.
Mikhail Wingo was heavily missed in this game.
Yes, he
The young
was.
corners did their job. They played fine. I mean, the passing game really wasn't there for Alabama, but man, that
It
run
wasn't.
game was crazy.
It doesn't really matter what we say now, but wonder what this game would have been like with a quarterback spy the whole time. And I know Milrow will beat Harold Perkins every now and then, and it'll be a 50-50 race pretty much. So those guys are so fast. But, I mean, it would cut these 155 rushing yards into about 90, 85, and cut 4 touchdowns into maybe 2. And it's just a completely different ballgame.
What's crazy is LSU only needed like 2 or 3 stops per half to win the game. That's not asking much.
With
They
that
got
offense, they could have put up any amount of points they needed, really.
they got 2 stops in the first half, missed field goal, and first possession they punted, and LSU's tied going in the half, and then didn't stop a soul in the second half.
Nope, but I wanted that game to be closer. We were robbed of it. We really were. As far as the Dallas Turner play, I don't have too much negativity to say about it. I don't think Dallas Turner's a dirty player. He's been known for some bad quarterback hits on Darts, Ewers, and now Jaden Daniels. I don't think that I would have ejected him from the game, but I understand why there were so many signs of targeting on that play. And I understand all the people who are outraged about that.
Yeah, you at least have to call a flag on it because it was a bad hit. Coming from Dallas Turner, it was probably a dirty hit. He probably intentionally hit him like that, but I mean,
At
it is
least
what it
roughing the passer. Not
is. At
for them
least.
not to throw a flag. Golly.
Yeah, it's a rough weekend for officiating.
The officiating's been horrible all season. It's almost like it just comes with the game.
Yeah,
That's what really sucks about it. It's like you're gonna have 5 or 6 missed calls per big game, and you just got to deal with it as a fan, as a player, as a coach. You just got to deal with it because they don't get disciplined like anybody else does. It's so stupid.
yeah. But this game was closer than the score indicated. Once Nussmeier came in, it felt like it was over.
Yes, I think everybody felt like it was over as soon as that happened.
Yeah, and good luck LSU moving forward if Jaden Daniels misses any time. Florida has a really good chance of beating you if Jaden Daniels isn't playing.
I know it. I know it. Speaking of Florida, I was going to ask you this. Their last 3 games are Missouri, LSU, and Florida State. They are currently 5-4 after the Arkansas loss. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you on if they can get one more win out of those 3 and make it to a bowl game? If Jaden Daniels is healthy. I know he won't be healthy, but 80% Jaden Daniels.
I'd say like a 7. I think they're going to beat either. They'll win one of the 3. They'll beat somebody
You
not
think
supposed
so?
to. Probably either Missouri or LSU.
I can't see them beating Florida State. I can't. Plus,
No.
they go to Missouri, I want to say. Plus, they go to y'all. So it's a tough 3 games.
That is.
The only one they get at home is Florida State, and I just can't see them beating Florida State. But we've seen Florida State struggle a little bit, but not as of lately.
Yeah, they kind of struggled this past week.
With who? With Pitt?
Pitt. Yeah.
It was
I mean,
an ugly game.
the final score didn't look like it, but it was a close game.
Yeah,
The
it
majority
was.
of it.
Oh, it was ugly. I watched a quarter of it maybe. Let's go to the next game, Jace. Number 2 Georgia versus number 12 Missouri. Missouri showed me a hell of a lot in this ball game. I figured Georgia would win. I thought Georgia might get close to covering, but I didn't think it would be close. Like I thought even if they didn't cover, the score wouldn't be close. I said that on Thursday. And Missouri kept this thing close, and they had plenty of opportunities to flip this game on its head and win the ball game.
Yeah. Missouri's a good football team. It's proven this weekend, even though they lost. But Schrader had a big game. He really put the team on his back because Cook was not cooking.
He was horrible. He was
Yeah.
horrible.
He had a pretty bad interception, too.
That interception to what's his name? Nazir Stackhouse, the
Yeah.
big defensive lineman. I thought it was a pick 6, but He was
He,
scooting, man. He was
yeah,
scooting.
he was under 50% and had 2 turnovers. You just can't play like that against Georgia.
14 out of 30. Let's do the other quarterback, Carson Beck. Another big time game for him against a really good team, really good defense.
Yeah, and Lad McConkey really fills that void that Brown Bowers left.
He does. He does. 7 receptions, 95 yards. Dominic Levitt, the Mizzou transfer. Uh, Probably nobody else wanted him to leave except Luther Burden because Luther Burden has been a menace since he left. He probably wanted him to leave. Luther Burden also had a touchdown in this ball game, and that was it. He had a 39-yard reception touchdown, and you didn't hear about him the rest of the day. 3
Well,
receptions, 53 yards.
I don't think it matters, but he is a little banged up.
He is. He is. He's been hurt. He's been hurt since that Kentucky game, I want to say.
Yeah.
Because without that game, his lowest yard total is this ball game. And before this, it was 94 yards against the first team they played at the beginning of the season. But yeah, Georgia did shut him down, and I didn't think they would be able to do that in this capacity, but they did it. They proved that they are probably the best team in the country. It's arguable, but
Yeah, I'd say so. And it proves a lot for Mizzou that they were able to shut down their main offensive weapon and still lose by only 9.
exactly. And offensively, the only person doing anything was Strader. That was really it.
How the hell LSU beat Mizzou is beyond me.
Gosh, what a game that was!
What
I
a
gotta
game.
revisit. I gotta revisit that game in a couple of days. I gotta watch it again.
It's a big test coming up for Georgia to go against Ole Miss.
Ole
Because
Miss and at Tennessee, yeah.
Ole Miss seems unbeatable somehow. It's like you can get close, but you just can't do it. I don't know how.
Yeah, it seems like it. Speaking of that, we had that bet a couple weeks ago, maybe just last week, $1,000 on if Georgia loses one of the next 4 games, and that was Florida, this game against Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Georgia's 2-0 since we said that. How confident are you in that they lose one of the next 2?
They're not going to lose one of the next 2.
Did you pick they would, or did you pick they wouldn't?
I bet $1,000 on it. I'm sure I said they wouldn't.
I can't remember. I can't remember what I did. I might have said they would, and now I'm not feeling too good about it. That Ole Miss game is going to be tough for them. I can't wait to preview that one on Thursday, hopefully. Jace, let's move to number 5, Washington versus number 20, USC. Speaking of USC, they fired Alex Grinch about a year too late. They wasted a whole year of Caleb Williams with the horrible defensive coordinator.
What week are we in?
We are in week 10.
Yeah, it's about 10 weeks too late.
That's in weeks.
I mean, I applaud Lincoln Riley, though. At least he has big enough nuts to fire his horrible defensive coordinator. Brian Kelly, take notes.
Hey, look at Sam Pittman.
Golly. Get my house out of Baton Rouge.
How long has Matt House been there? We got to quit talking about LSU, man. This is not a LSU podcast.
It's just tough. It's his second year. He was really good last year. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about
it. All right, with this game, so what surprised me most about this game is USC was in control for most of it. And on top of that, Michael Penix Jr. didn't have the best game. He had a really good game like he always does. But Dylan Johnson, the running back, the Mississippi State transfer, 26 rushes, 256 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's an Ollie Gordon stat line.
It is. I thought that was Ollie Gordon for a little bit.
That's a Devontae Jordan. That's a Devontae Jordan 9th grade year stat line.
It is. It's a Chris Jordan senior year stat line.
Absolutely. But Washington wins this ball game 52-42. The biggest. Let me give you one stat. I'll give you 2 stats from this. From 35 seconds left in the first quarter to 20 seconds left in the second quarter. So that's about 15 minutes and 15 seconds of game time. There were 7 touchdowns in that span.
1,087 total yards.
Oh my gosh. This was fun to watch, but it kind of did get on your nerves at a certain point. As an all-state linebacker like myself. It did get on my nerves just a tad.
Did it?
It did. One of the biggest plays of this ball game was USC was down 45-42 with about 7 minutes left. Caleb Williams took a big sack, but before that, they were at Washington's 24-yard line, had a 3rd and 7, got a holding penalty, pushed it back to the 30. Then Caleb Williams took the 12-yard sack, pushed them out of field goal range. They couldn't tie it up. They had to punt the ball, and Washington keeps the ball for 6 minutes and goes up by 10, and USC really doesn't get another shot.
I don't understand USC's offense. It's really good, but like I feel like they don't have plays. Like they're just out there doing something. Because like even on like the design runs, wide receivers running routes. I don't. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I got you. They have so many weapons. Caleb Williams, he did make some insane plays tonight, some incredible throws. Rome Odunze, the Washington receiver, one of the best receivers in the country. He had a good game, 5 receptions, 82 yards. Did not have a touchdown. But Washington still controls its own destiny, obviously. If they went out, they're in the college football playoff. USC, on the other hand, I think they are out of it, but I'm not sure how the tiebreaker with USC-Oregon works. Because USC has Oregon next week at Oregon, I want to say. And whoever wins that one, that puts both of them at 2 conference losses. But there's a row of teams with 2 conference losses in the Pac-12, so I'm not sure how the tiebreakers work.
See, Oregon might be the best team in the country for real. This is going to be a blowout.
That's the team I was arguing with about. That's arguable, in my opinion, to be the best team in the country with Georgia. It's Oregon, Georgia, and I don't think you can argue Ohio State or Michigan at the moment, or Florida State.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But then again, you could argue Washington, I guess, because they beat. I don't know. That's a different conversation, I guess.
I don't like Caleb Williams a whole lot, but he made that dude do front flip. That was crazy.
It's one of the best plays all year. He made him do a front flip. It looked like he broke a foot or something.
It looked fake. Like it was scripted. That dude
like
just
a Madden juke. Ooh-wee. Texas versus Kansas. Go ahead.
It's a little like Justin Peacock out there during Marvel. Oh,
Texas versus Kansas State, Jace. This game looked over. It looked over. Texas was up 17-0 in the going into halftime, and Kansas State scored, making it a 10-point game. Texas then went up 27-7. They went up by 20, and look, I have another stat for you. In 3.5 minutes of game time, from the third quarter to early in the fourth quarter, Texas was up 27-7, and they got 27-27 in 3.5 minutes of game time.
Yeah, dude, if you're a defensive guy, tough weekend for you. Late in the third, when Phillip Brooks caught that deep touchdown pass,
yeah,
those tackle attempts were horrible.
It was a rough day for defensive guys. But Kansas State, they had so many opportunities to win this game. Chris Kleiman, that fourth down decision in overtime is crazy. Crazy. 4th and goal at the 5-yard line.
And what the hell did they run?
I don't know. Chase, you remember that? Let's talk about the worst goal line 2-point conversion plays of the season. You remember that UCF one versus Oklahoma? You remember that one at all? They did a swing pass, and he tried to throw it in the end zone. They tried to do a double pass at a 2-point conversion.
No, I don't remember that.
Well, good, because that shit got wrecked. It got wrecked. But this one was bad. 4th and 5.
I'm not trying to bring LSU up, but another funny play that happened.
This is not an LSU podcast.
Jalen Miro got 6 yards on a quarterback sneak. How does that even happen?
Missing Mekhi Wingo. That's how it happens.
Please.
That's how it happens. But for this Texas-Kansas State game, Kansas State, it's not even the 4th down decision. It's what got them there in the first place. They were down 27-7, and props to them for coming back and making this a scare for Texas. Putting the fear of God in Texas. And Matthew McConaughey was scared on the sideline. Sark was scared than him.
More scared.
It was more scared. 27-27. They missed the PAT, Jace. They missed the PAT to go up 1 with 12 minutes left. their kicker also missed a field goal to tie it up with 2 minutes left. So their defense had to come up with a 3 and out, and they got it. And they went down the field and tied it up 30-30 to end regulation. Then they lost it 33-30 in overtime.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. That's a very fun game. So much stuff happening.
Yep, it was. And we talked about Malik Murphy's transfer stock, not draft stock, transfer stock. That shit dropped this week.
Yeah, he made me look dumb as hell.
19. Go ahead.
I said, well, Howard looks good, but Murphy looked better. Oh, golly.
You know what's crazy about this one? Avery Johnson for Kansas State didn't even play. He had one pass attempt and one rushing attempt, I want to say. And he's the reason their whole season turned around. But it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Will Howard was a stud today.
He was. Except for that 4th and goal from the 5.
Yeah. He's gonna want to forget about that one.
Motherfucker threw a fadeaway pass.
Jonathan Brooks, the Texas running back who replaced Bijan Robinson, 112 yards, 1 touchdown, but he had a huge fumble in the fourth quarter. A.D. Mitchell, the transfer from Georgia, 8 receptions, 149 yards, and 1 touchdown. He had a huge day. What does this say about Texas, Jace? Does it make you believe in them more because most of the time they lose these type of ball games with Sark? Like a comeback happens, they don't choke, and they ended up winning and still have their season in full destiny?
My opinion on them doesn't change a whole lot. I mean, I think they just got too comfortable. They're the better football team.
They are. I believe so, too.
They just got it big and got comfortable, I think. Made some bad turnovers.
So, yeah, Texas still has everything to play for. Another question of mine, do you think the Big 12 champ, if it's Texas, because it can't be anybody else at this point, it can't be for this question, are they in the college football playoff if everything goes like predictable, I should say?
Some people would have to lose. Because
Okay.
I don't think Michigan or Ohio State drop out of the top 4 with a loss to each other, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. Just the Big 12 just does not look very good anymore. It really doesn't. It looks like a lot of teams are on the same level. Like I'd put Texas, Kansas State, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State kind of all in the same little bracket. And 3 weeks ago, that would be kind of blasphemy, not putting Texas and Oklahoma above everybody.
Yeah. Oh, you fell off quick.
Fell off a cliff. Let's get to that game. Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. I called it here first, folks. The biggest rivalry win of all time. Oklahoma State ends the Bedlam rivalry for the foreseeable future with a huge 27-24 win. Ollie Gordon did not have the game that he had a great game on paper, 33 rushes, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had 1 long run, and everything else was kind of short little bursts from him. Oklahoma did a really good job on him.
I mean, this is 6th game in a row over 100 yards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they did as good as everybody else did, I guess.
Since Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State figured out who the hell he is.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about Cam Little. This guy's not quite as good, but how do we get him on the Heisman ballot?
He's on my Heisman ballot. He is on my Heisman ballot.
Gotta be.
He's over J.J. McCarthy by about 3 tiers.
You speaking blasphemy there, buddy. You better watch out.
Michigan fans going to get on me. I hope we don't have any Michigan fans listening to this podcast. Actually, they should be listening to some court. They should be listening to some court laws and rules and sign stealing rules and how to get Connor Stallions his paycheck. Rough times in Michigan. We'll talk about them later for about a sentence. We'll talk about them later.
Both offenses look pretty good for it to be a 24-27 game. It was a very high-scoring or high-powered offense.
Yeah, Oklahoma State had almost 2 100-yard receivers with Rashad Owens and Brennan Presley, and Oklahoma had almost three 100-yard receivers. They had what's his name, Drake Stoops. He had 134 yards and a touchdown. He also, I don't know if you saw it or not, he was tackled out of the end zone on a 3rd and 12, and they didn't call it. And that made Oklahoma kick the field goal to cut it from 27-21 to 27-24. And then he was also stopped on the 4th down conversion at the very end to end the game, essentially. Oklahoma State stopped him. Dylan Gabriel didn't have the best game. He's had 3 or 4 bad games in a row. He's had 3, I want to say. 3 bad games in a row.
He didn't play terrible. I mean, he did enough to win, but just came up short. I think he had over 300 yards, didn't he?
Did enough to win and came up short.
He did. He did enough to win, I think.
He did. So Oklahoma State went up 14-7, and they also went up 17-14, and they were in control for a majority of the first and second quarter and a little bit of the third quarter. Then Oklahoma finally took the lead 21-17. Oklahoma State drove 97 yards in the fourth quarter to go up 24-21. Then the next play they had, Oklahoma fumbled it, and that put Oklahoma State in prime position to go up 2 scores, but they couldn't. They had to settle for a field goal, but they get out of this game with a huge, monumental win for the program, and they're looking at Big 12 championship spot. And it's just crazy to think about with Oklahoma State.
Yeah, this is a yearly thing with Gundy. He's always showing up late in the season, being a contender.
So they lost to South Alabama by 26 points earlier in the season, and just it looked like all hope was lost for this team. But they turned it around. They found Ollie Gordon, like we talked about, and they are looking at Big 12 hopes. I think they have to win out. I don't think they can lose another one, but their schedule's not extremely hard to do that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be Oklahoma State and Texas in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, more than likely.
Jace, let's move on to another extremely fun 11 a.m. kickoff game, Texas A&M versus Ole Miss. What a fun game this was between those two coaches, man. Jimbo and Lane Kiffin, literally, they seriously hate each other. They really do. Did you see their pregame handshake?
Yeah, Jimbo definitely saw him in the corner
He
of his eye.
definitely saw him. There was the peripheral. That was one of the most awkward interactions I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it made me uncomfortable.
How good is Trey Harris, Jace?
He's all right.
How good is that, man? 11 receptions, 213 yards, and 1 touchdown. Think of all the SEC receivers, man. There's so many good ones this year. You got Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Trey Harris. You got Xavier Legette, Luther Burden, Jermaine Burton. You got Anaya Smith, Evan Stewart. Evan Stewart was hurt for this one, I want to say. But, man, so many good receivers in the SEC this year.
Yeah, it's a good year for the SEC, per usual.
Jackson Dart, another monster game for him. Almost 400 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Judkins, 102 yards, 3 touchdowns. And on that game-winning drive, he had 5 rushes, 36 yards, and a touchdown on that drive alone.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose. You got to either let Dart go off or Judkins go off. You can't let both of them go off.
Texas A&M's had a pretty good defense all year long.
I mean, it was good QB play by both sides. They combined for almost 700 passing yards.
Yep. Just that A&M O-line is just – it's horrible, man. It's horrible. Max Johnson gets his ass beat every Saturday. I'm surprised he still comes out there.
He's used to it. He got his ass beat since he's been in college football. Remember, he started off with the horrible post-Joe Burrow 2020?
Yeah, 2020 LSU.
God, bled. Who had him rolling out right, and he's a left-handed passer.
LSU talk again. Is that the year y'all beat – was he the quarterback when y'all beat Florida?
Yes, either him or Nuss. They both played.
The shoe game?
Max Johnson's last game was Coach O's last game where he beat Texas A&M.
Wow. And then he joins Texas A&M, almost like Kevin Durant in a sense. Ole Miss led this game multiple times. 14-0, 28-14, 31-21. But surprisingly, Jimbo Fisher would not go down easy, man. He would not go down easy. They got into a prime position to tie the game and even go into overtime. But the field goal kick was so short. Was it tipped? Do you know if it was tipped?
I don't think it was.
That was so short, man. And that was another one. Oh, we talked about the kick already, but that was another one going on at the same time and just did not happen for A&M.
Yeah, there was 2 kicks this weekend that I could have accidentally made with my left foot, and that was one of them.
A&M's had a rough season, man. They've had a rough 3 or 4 years. Since 2020, They've had a rough 3 years.
Sumlin officially has a better record at A&M than Jimbo does.
Something. You know, he got a DUI a couple weeks ago.
I didn't bring up dude's personal life. I just gave him a
Yeah,
compliment.
yeah. Man, I know about that. I just saw that's the last thing I thought about him.
Yeah, well, he might be a drunk, but he's a better coach than Jimbo.
Hey, can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. There's a lot of people wanting Jimbo Fisher gone. I feel like he should have been gone last year, but I know that buyout's tough.
Where were we, Thrash?
We just got done talking about the A&M game, I think, unless you had anything more to say about it.
No, I don't.
All right. Let's move on to the revenge story of the day. Clemson versus Notre Dame. Clemson gets the W, 31-23. Dabo tells Tyler from Spartanburg to shut the hell up. He tells even his Clemson fans, even his Clemson students to shut up. And after the game, he says, "Dang man, you got me off my train of thought." What he told the reporter some shit about recruits and about energy, something. I can't remember what it was. Phil Maffa, Jace. You ever heard of Phil Maffa?
I haven't, no.
Well, he replaced Will Shipley and had 186 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. I didn't even know Will Shipley was at the ball game. That's how bad Clemson's been this year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had X-rays earlier this season, and they came back. This fucking dog. I'll win him.
I gotta see what Dabo said to this damn reporter. He started crying almost. Let's see. Oh, he said buy stock. He said buy stock, buy stock. That's what he said. He's telling the students to spend money on the Clemson football team. That's his way of saying invest in NIL. That's his Mark Stoops impersonation.
Is he on drugs, you think? Like, for real question. That dude is everywhere all the time.
He's supposed to be a big time Christian, Jay. He's supposed to be a big time Christian. That's why the NIL, he says it's Jesus' name, image, and likeness. He said that last year.
Oh, I mean, I'm all about it. He just he seemed maybe head coaching is not for him because he seems like his train of thought is everywhere.
Let's talk about the third most handsome guy on this podcast, Jace. Sam Hartman. He was horrible.
That's a weird way to start that.
If he came onto this podcast, he'd be the third most handsome guy on the podcast.
Yeah, if he came on this podcast, I wouldn't let my wife in this room right now.
Hell no. That's why I'm glad Kelsey's gone. She
Yeah,
couldn't
but
be
then
here.
she'd be mesmerized, and then I'd turn his highlights on, and she'd be like, "Geez, this guy's ass."
Exactly. He's so bad. He's 0-5 against Clemson. How do you even do that?
Yeah. I actually like Sam Hartman a lot. I can't talk bad. When he was on QB1, you remember that?
No, I don't think so. I didn't think I watched that.
Yeah, he was on QB1
I liked him at Wake Forest.
He was on QB1 with Justin Fields and Jake Fromm.
Boy, you better make me go get a beer.
Oh,
you better make me call in on a Tuesday morning.
Or Jake Fromm and Justin Fields on the same one?
I don't know, Jay. Did they like each other?
I don't know. I'd have to text him and ask. Can't talk to him in a while.
Justin Fields had a day yesterday against y'all. Against the sorry
He didn't even play. He didn't even play. Why do you say something you don't know nothing about?
Because Chicago, I thought Chicago, and I thought he was playing. He's got a concussion.
They lost. I don't know what he's got. I don't know. He's a loser now.
Oh, that's funny. Sam Hartman surprised me yesterday because he didn't even go 50% throwing the ball. He had a pick 6. He didn't have 150 yards throwing the ball, but he did have 7 rushes, 68 yards, and a touchdown. I don't know if I've ever seen that side of Sam Hartman.
No. Yeah, he wasn't good. Notre Dame wasn't good. I'm not a Notre Dame hater, but it's a good day when they lose in this house.
See, I hated Notre Dame whenever Brian Kelly was there.
Why? Appreciate it.
I didn't like Brian Kelly.
I didn't like Georgia when Sam Pittman was there.
And I don't. You didn't even know Sam Pittman back then.
Shit.
What was I about to say? Brian Kelly was just very unlikable at Notre Dame.
He's still kind of unlikable. I don't really think I like him, to be honest with you.
That's how I feel with Mike McCarthy in Dallas.
But he's here for 10 years, so I ain't got a choice.
Golly. Jason, let me give you these stats. After scoring a touchdown midway through the third to make it 31-23, because Clemson was up big. At one point in this game, Clemson was up big. Notre Dame scratched their way back into it. Down 8. They had 6 possessions after making it an 8-point game. 3 and out, another punt, 3 and out, 3 and out, interception, turnover on downs at their own 42.
So, a question I have for you.
All right.
Do you think this is just a Notre Dame problem? Because I feel like Marcus Freeman's a good coach, but
I feel like he is too.
even Brian Kelly, who he's a good coach, he had Notre Dame at their peak, I feel like, and they've still lost games like this.
I really thought all they needed was a quarterback. Sam Hartman coming in, I was like, that is going to make a huge difference. And they're going to go from a really good team, like 9-4 last year, even though to some it was disappointing, but a 9-4 team last year to 10-2, maybe 11-1, and maybe 2020 going to the to the playoff, have a shot at that. But I don't know, because they had a great running back in Estime and Sam Hartman. I don't know what the problem is really, but Sam Hartman has not been great, so maybe that is the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fun to see them lose, but to a certain extent, you just start wondering why they lose so much.
And I like Marcus Freeman. I really do. Kelsey loves
Yeah.
Marcus Freeman.
I think he's a good coach.
I think so too.
But maybe it's just their ceiling right now, because I really do feel like Brian Kelly had him at their ceiling. And he made national championship games, but, I mean, they weren't competitive.
Man, Tateo.
Yeah. Played for the Saints, too.
I always want to be like Man Tateo on the field. It was so fun watching his highlights.
Y'all look similar. Yeah.
Me and man. You know, he had a documentary on Netflix come out like last year. I watched it. It was pretty heart touching.
Yeah. All right. What game's next?
All right, let's go to these games. We don't really have much to say about them. Some of them are important, some of them just aren't, and most of them are Big Ten. That's why they're about one-sentence discussions. Ohio State versus Rutgers. Sum this game up, Jason.
A boring Big Ten game.
That's right. That's right. So Rutgers was up at halftime. They were up 9-7. They were driving in the third quarter, and Ohio State needed a 93-yard interception return to take the lead for good. They ended up winning by 19, 35-16. And just Ohio State is just not very impressive. McCord had I don't want to say a terrible game because it was good enough, but he did not look good. I want to say he didn't have 200 yards passing. And Rutgers is a good ball team, but Ohio State should not be struggling with them.
I just don't see how you have games going on like Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Florida, the same time this game's on, and he's like, man, some Big Ten football is what I need in my life.
I don't know how you can be a Big Ten fan. I don't know how there's podcasts out there talking about Big Ten football. Like you just don't really like football if that's who you're focusing on.
It's gotten so bad. I don't know why it's just so focused on that conference. It's crazy.
So the top 3 teams are good, and Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. But I know you about Penn State. It's arguable that they're not too good, but it's Ohio State and Michigan, those 3 at the top, and the rest are just horrible. Maryland, Michigan State, Nebraska, Rutgers, Iowa. I don't even want to talk about Iowa. They won 10-7 yesterday against a bad Northwestern team. And they'll probably go to the Big Ten championship. And that's just whoever the Big Ten president, that's insane. That is insane that you are okay with having 2 divisions like that where the divisions are so lopsided.
Yeah, that is crazy. Hopefully it gets better with the addition. Who's all coming? Oregon, USC.
Yes, yep. So that conference will be better, and they're going away with the divisions. I want to say it's like the top 2 teams, like it is in the Pac-12, the Big 12, things like that.
Oh, it'll get better theoretically.
Michigan's schedule next year is brutal. I just saw it the other day. and it might be all for nothing after all these punishments come out. But yeah, their schedule is brutal. Speaking of Michigan, with all this drama going on in the background, there was a report today saying Jim Harbaugh might get suspended the rest of the season. They won 41-13 against a bad Purdue team.
Yeah, it's a ball. I think Harbaugh might end up in NFL. We say that every year, but
I think
this
so
year
too.
might be legit with all the rumors going around.
He's got to be tired of the NCAA, man. Got to be.
Yeah.
Next game, last Big Ten game, I think. Penn State blew the doors off Maryland 51-15. And Penn State's best game of the year, probably their best win of the year, especially by that margin. Drew Aller's best game of the year, 25 for 34, 4 touchdowns, 240 yards. And Maryland just is on a free fall right now.
Yeah, it's a game Penn State needed, especially if you're a Penn State fan. I feel like you just need that 1 week where you can stop stressing about something. Just
I don't know if
enjoy
they
a
scored
game.
51 points all season. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's a get-right game for them. They needed it.
They host Michigan this week. It's a crime, and that's not a night whiteout game. It's a damn 11 a.m. kickoff.
That's big noon, baby.
Big noon kickoff. You got Gus. You got Joel. Your boy Joel Klatt.
Yeah, best commentator ever.
He's one of them. ACC Louisville statement win, and this makes that Pitt loss where Louisville went to Pitt and lost 38-21. It might make it the upset of the season so far. That loss is looking crazy. I want to say Pittsburgh's 2-7 now, and Louisville is 8-1, and they're really aligned with the ACC championship. I mean, if Louisville doesn't lose that game, they're a top 7 team in the nation, undefeated. And if they beat Florida State in the ACC championship, they're going to the damn college football playoff. But no, they lose. They lose to Pat Narduzzi and Pitt.
Yeah, they're so under the radar right now. No one's talking about them at all.
Golly, I cannot. That's shaping up to be the worst upset of the year. Maybe behind that North Carolina Virginia game, but it still might be this one because of how good Louisville is on paper. And I mean, they've only lost that one game.
Yeah. I think Louisville actually give Florida State a run for their money.
I think so too. They beat the hell out of Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, it turns out that they were just hype. The 4-4, only one conference loss was just hype. And their record really shows who they are, losing to, who did they lose to? Marshall. They lost to Purdue. I think they lost to Purdue. Purdue's 2-7 now, so that's a horrible loss. And Louisville beats them 34-3.
I'm trying to get my camera set up.
It's an hour into the podcast.
Shut up. Chargers now on there now.
Talk about being prepared. This is our job, Jace. This is our job.
I wish.
Me too. One day. Pac-12 game. Oregon State beats Colorado 26-19 in a game that the score makes it a lot closer than it actually was.
Yeah, it didn't seem that close when we were watching it. But, yeah, Colorado's just going to Colorado. They're not a good football team.
They're not. 5 losses in the last 6. Damn. 5 losses in their last 6 games. They have to win 2 out of 3 versus Arizona, at Washington State, and at Utah. Can they win 2 of those, Jason? Can they win one of those?
They can win against Washington State, I think.
Washington State's been horrible. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But Oregon State, on the other hand, DJ Uiagalelei, Damian Martinez, they control their own destiny. They have Stanford, they have Washington, and Oregon. So obviously 2 insanely tough games, and if they knock both of those off, they are most likely in the Pac-12 championship. Their only losses are to Washington State and Arizona at the moment.
Yeah, they're an underrated football team too.
The story behind DJ is crazy.
Him leaving Clemson is the best thing that ever happened to him.
For real. Let's stick to the Pac-12. Arizona. You were right about this game as well. This is another game you were right about. I was wrong about. Arizona, 27-10 against a good UCLA Chip Kelly team. Noah Fafita, 25 of 32, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He's a stud.
Yeah. Arizona's a different team now than when they went to overtime Mississippi State. They're a really solid football team.
This team they beat Washington State 44-6. That's what kind of put them on the map. They upset Oregon State, now UCLA. They played close with Washington, and they should have beat USC.
Yeah, all the praise here. That might be our new favorite team on this podcast is Arizona.
For real, man. We are Arizona fans on this podcast. And the crazy thing is, Fafita is a true freshman. We get to watch this man for probably 2 more years.
Yeah, that's big time for Arizona.
Absolutely. They could recruit some guys with that. Jed Fish is doing an awesome job up there. They need a few things to happen to be in the Pac-12 championship. They have 2 conference losses to Washington and USC, like I said. But there's so many teams in that conference with 2 losses that it really could happen.
Yeah, the Pac-12's kind of getting wild too, but
It is. It is.
pretty clear cut. The best 2 teams there.
Yep. I think so too. Let's move on to the Big 12. Kansas 28, Iowa State 21. Kansas was up 21-3 in this ball game. It was kind of ugly for a majority of it. They went into Ames, Iowa, and did this. They were up 14-0, 21-3. Iowa State cut it to 21-18 early in the fourth quarter. A little over 8 minutes left, and Jason Bean threw an 80-yard goal route to his man, and they went up 28-18. Iowa State kicked a field goal in, I think, garbage time, and that was the end of it. But that 80-yard play sealed the deal, changed the whole game, gave all the momentum back to Kansas.
Yeah, I think this is another one I got right. You didn't.
Yeah. After I just said that 30 seconds
Oh,
ago.
did you? I didn't hear you.
You gonna make me wrong again?
Yeah. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I'm pretty sure you predicted this game wrong.
I did. I thought Iowa State would win it in Iowa. I'm not mad about it because I like Kansas and what Leipold's doing up there, man. This Kansas isn't even the Kansas of last year. You know, they started off 5-0 last year, finished 6-7 when Arkansas whooped that ass in the Liberty Bowl. Even though we were up 25 in the fourth quarter and they came back and won. I mean, they came back and forced overtime. But that's a different story. This is a different story. It's not an SEC podcast, Jay. It's not an Arkansas LSU podcast. We just got to quit bringing shit up like that. But Kansas is a good football team, man. Last season, like I just talked about, they dropped a lot their last few weeks. This team, I don't see doing that. They've lost to Texas. They've lost to Oklahoma State, which are probably the 2 Big 12 championship contenders at the moment. They beat Kansas. They are 3rd in conference right now. And that's crazy to say about a Kansas State team.
Kansas, you meant.
Kansas team, golly.
Yeah, you threw me off there for a second.
Yeah.
Who do they have left on their schedule?
I don't know. Let me look it up. Keep talking, Jace. Keep talking. Got to have good podcasting here.
Just depending on who they have left on their schedule, they could finish like top 15 team this year. Like,
They really
good for
could.
them, especially going into next year. I don't know who all they lose or anything like that, but I mean, with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, that's wide open for them.
Yes, it is. So they have Texas Tech, Kansas State, and Cincinnati. So Texas Tech, very winnable ball game. Kansas State will be a fun game. And at Cincinnati, which Cincinnati's been pretty bad this year.
Yeah, I think the only competition they have left this year is Kansas State.
I think so too. That'll be a fun one, man. That's at Kansas.
I bet it is.
I knew you were gonna say that bullshit.
Let's move on.
All right. So after this weekend, we don't have to put just an undefeated G5 team in the playoff conversation just because anymore. Army, a team you should know very well after LSU beat them 62-0. They beat Air Force 23-3. Air Force was 8-0 until this moment.
Yeah, that might be team-wise my performance of the week. That's crazy. That's a bad Army team and a pretty decent Air Force.
Bad. Yes, that's a bad Army team.
I mean, we saw how bad the LSU defense is, and they did not put up a point against them.
62-0 in that ball game. But Army was up 23-3 in this game at halftime and didn't have to score again.
Yeah, don't call them Texas, because they ain't gonna choke it.
That's true. This was a battle of the U.S. right here. If you love the USA, you attended this ball game, and me and you didn't attend this ball game. That says a lot about us.
Yeah, I love my country, but I don't love it enough to go to that.
to go to an Army Air Force game. That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Even Army Navy game.
Oh man.
On to the Big 12, on to the Big 10. I lied to you, Jace. This is the last Big 10 game we got to talk about. Nebraska loses to Michigan State. Michigan State wins 20-17. Michigan State has a lot going on right now with that coach, with Mel Tucker, with figuring out if they're going to have to pay him his buyout or the other stuff, all that stuff. And they just look like a football team in free fall, man. And they come out and beat a Nebraska team who Matt Rule has winning 5 of its last 6. And they gave Michigan State their first conference win of the season.
This is a confusing game for me because it just, I don't know, like you said, the Big Ten is so bad outside of 3 teams. Like anybody can beat anybody.
It's not even fun to watch. Like it would be fun watching if all these teams were high scoring.
Yeah, I feel bad for Matt Rule. I mean, I feel like every time he takes a step forward, he takes 2 steps back. He's a good coach. He'll find a spot. I don't think Nebraska's his spot, though.
You don't think so? I think he'll have him good in a couple of years. It's Nebraska. It's going to take some time, but I think he will do good up there. I really do.
I mean, he'll have plenty of time to try because they're not going to fire him instantly.
But yeah, this is such a surprising win for Michigan State. I can't believe Nebraska drops this, and they just have to move on. Let's move on, Jace, to the Battle of the Gamecocks. South Carolina wins 38-28 over at Jacksonville State.
It's almost Beamer's job right there.
I swear, that's what I was thinking. That is what I was thinking, man.
South Carolina's gotten so bad, it seems like. I remember was it 2012 they played LSU. They were what, like a top 5 team or something like that.
2012. I want to say they were. I think y'all upset them that day.
When they wore those,
they were number 3. I want to say they were number 3. Y'all were number 9, and y'all won.
Yeah, they wore those beautiful camo uniforms.
They were beautiful. I haven't seen those in a long time.
No,
we're over Cocktober. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately,
I heard on a podcast that Cocktober is Cocktober, but I wasn't gonna mention that on this one. I felt like it was a little too corny. But now we ain't even talked about it, Jace. We haven't even talked about it. Jacksonville State was on the South Carolina 12 with 2 minutes left, down 3. They were about to win this. They were in South Carolina. They were in there. Stone Blanton, an 88-yard pick six, sealed the deal on this one. And South Carolina wins the Battle of the Gamecocks. They're still bowl eligible. They have to win Kentucky, Clemson, and I think Vanderbilt. They got to win all 3 of them. Can they win all 3, Jason?
Well, yeah, they can. I don't think they will.
Radler had a good game. 399 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Right. You're right.
Xavier Legette, one of the best receivers in the country, 9 receptions, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns. Wish he transferred to Arkansas next year. South Carolina don't know how to use them. Arkansas wouldn't either this year. Maybe Kenny Guyton does.
Get out of South Carolina.
Yes, he needs to. NC State holds Miami to 6 points. They forced 4 turnovers. They forced 3 interceptions from Tyler Van Dyke. The same Tyler Van Dyke who looked like Peyton Manning against A&M earlier this season. Dave Doran becomes winningest coach in NC State history. And Jace, this team's not a basketball school.
This team is not a basketball school.
It's just not a basketball school.
I remember how mad Oregon fans were when Mario Cristobal left. I bet they're happy now.
He's got a lot to do in Miami. He's got a lot to do. A lot of work and just, I don't know. I thought this year they'd be better. I thought they would be 9-3, maybe 8-4, and they still have a chance to do that. This is literally their 3rd loss. North Carolina, Texas A&M, and Georgia Tech.
How many beat Texas A&M?
North Carolina, Georgia Tech, and NC State. But yeah, so 6-3. They still have a lot to play for. Their ACC champ hopes are out of the window, but they still could be a 9-3 team. They do have Florida State coming up this Saturday, though. That'd be a good test.
Yeah, that'd be a good game.
Yeah. Stanford, they hold the electric Washington State offense and Cam Ward 10-7. Jace, at the beginning of the year, the month of September, I thought Washington State was one of the best teams in the country. I thought Cam Ward was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They put 31 on a good Wisconsin defense, 31-22. They won that game. They scored 38 points on Oregon State and upset Oregon State. And since then, they have lost 5 straight ball games. They lost 44-6 to Arizona. They lost to Arizona State, and Arizona State's horrible. Colorado beat Arizona State. And they just lost to Stanford, Stanford beat Colorado.
Yeah, unless Gardner Minshew goes back to college, Washington State ain't gonna be good again.
Oh my gosh. I was so high on Cam Ward, man. So high on him.
He's not bad. Washington State's bad.
Jace, who won the weekend? What
Alabama
player
did.
or team? Okay.
Alabama.
If you're saying Alabama, I'm going to say Oklahoma State. I was trying to think of another one because I thought you might say Oklahoma State. But, yeah, I got to go Oklahoma State. They won the weekend, sent them Sooners off to the SEC with a loss, with no Big 12 hopes, no college football playoff hopes, and the last game of Bedlam, they sent them away that way. Who lost the weekend for you?
Say USC. Their season's officially done now. And then bad luck for Caleb Williams. Bad luck for the defense. Somebody lost their job because of this game. Not a good look.
I can't disagree with that. I believe Notre Dame lost the weekend, in my opinion. Going to a tough Clemson place, I will say, a tough home environment, even for an 11 a.m. kickoff. But to have that performance, they were down big. They clawed back into the game and then could do nothing on offense. Marcus Freeman, Sam Hartman, they just have a lot to look in the mirror about, a lot to just think about and see what they can do to the rest of the season to improve and what Marcus Freeman can do the rest of his tenure to improve. So that's who lost the weekend for me. Jace, what is your performance of the weekend? A lot of good performances. You can do 2 or 3 if you want to. Or you can stick to the damn script. Okay. He does not get enough love. He didn't get enough love for me in September. Before the season started, I didn't have Jackson Dart on my radar. My performance of the weekend, it's got to be the Mississippi State transfer, Dylan Johnson, 26 rush, 256 yards, 4 touchdowns in a game where I thought it was just going to be an air raid for all of the game with Michael Penix Jr. But no, he says that Washington State is a grinded team, and he pretty much won the game for him. You couldn't have ran that, Jace. No, you're not going to take away from my performance of the weekend, man. I did on the sideline with a tore ACL. Okay. I will. Okay. Well, Jace, I'm such a good podcast partner that I already remembered you were going to ask me this, so I already have things written down if you want me to tell you right now. I don't have 10 of them hoes though. That's a lot. So I'll give you 2 of them because one is kind of like it might be already implemented and they might have already announced this. Multi-playoff mode, so the BCS era, the CFP era, the 12-team playoff era that I can't wait for personally. And then even more teams, like you can do as many teams as you want, like as far as 24, but that's probably it, 24, 30, something like that. But that would be some of my additions. And also eras. Like 2K on NBA, they just incorporated this. You can go to the 70s and they'll have all the right rosters and they'll have the courts looking like 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. If we could do that with college football, that would be so sick. The Southwest Conference would be sick. That would be awesome. A Penn State whiteout. That's our mission to go. Even though you don't like Penn State, that's our mission outside of the SEC to go. Their stadium is sick. It's going to be rocking at 11 a.m. against Michigan this weekend. I would love to see them pull that upset. You know what? All right, guys. Appreciate y'all for watching the reaction to a crazy Week 10. We should have previews on Thursday. Can't wait for that. Another big weekend. It seems like every Saturday is a big weekend from now on. But appreciate y'all for watching. See y'all in the next one.
I